meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So tonight there are no announcements, and we will start with public comment. If anybody is here or attending on Zoom for public comment. Hello?
Good evening, Ed Prisby, 25 Daniel Drive. You know I am here. Do you want to do this now, or do you want to do it on item G?
Item G.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else have public comment, or is anybody on Zoom?
No hands raised on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Jim, are you gonna speak?
I'm gonna speak.
Oh, I thought you just.
I know it's not like me, but.
Jim, do you want to sit at the, thing?
No, I'm
Yeah.
good,
Okay.
thanks.
Yep.
Jim Gallagher, 31 Hollywood Drive. The reason that that I'm coming up at the beginning is that I wanted to read something into the record. I sent a letter to the editor, to the Grafton News, and I'm hopeful that it'll be published this week. But there's a lot of this going on with the discussion about John Stevens and so forth. And I wanted to make a comment now, and I do reserve the right to make a comment later if necessary, after you get a chance to read John's explanation.
So Jim, I just want to stop you real quick. We just asked Ed to hold off.
Yep.
So I think it's only fair if we ask you to hold off till we get to that agenda item.
So you waited until I got all of the stuff out and my glasses on to tell me that.
We'll remember it.
Well,
I
no,
apologize.
Jim, we really wanted to see that.
He's not lying.
But if you have anything else you want to talk about, now's your shot.
No, well, okay.
Okay,
I'm going to take as much time getting back as I did coming up.
fair enough.
That's okay, we can talk while you walk.
That's it. Well, you've been a lovely audience. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody in Zoom with their hand raised?
There is not. No.
Right. Does anybody else have a public comment that's not an agenda item? Great. So we're going to take one thing out of order tonight. We're going to go right to the appointments for the town administrator, and we're going to appoint our treasurer collector.
So, Madeline is having Zoom issues right now.
Awesome.
So do you want me to give you a heads up when we get to that point?
Yeah, that works.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So the first thing, going back in order, was the public hearing poll petition. That has been canceled per National Grid. There was a design issue, and it has not been rescheduled at this time. Moving right along to the Grafton Common Improvements Change Order, we have Andy Duchesne and Paul Scarlett here to present on that.
Let's come up there.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
All the way
You can't look at my notes.
You get the
Paul.
tall chair.
Well, you can't look at my notes because you'll know what I'm gonna say.
Fair enough. So, thank you. Paul Scarlett, 47 Carroll Road. We're here to talk about two change orders, one for the bandstand and the other one for a backflow preventer, which is associated with the irrigation system on the common. But I did want to take a moment, since we haven't been here for a while, to just give you an update on the project. I'll be brief because I know you have a long meeting.
Sure.
So we're wrapping up the original project scope. We're pretty close. We still have the electrical connections that need to be made so that the lanterns on the archways and the lamp posts within the common will actually illuminate. Working with National Grid on that. We're in their queue, basically, and we're just waiting to hear from them. That'll also incorporate removing the lone pole that is currently on the common. That'll be taken out. In addition to that, there are a few minor things that are still remaining. Some work on the fence, repair work, and the bandstand actually had some repair work, but that's going to be essentially overruled, assuming that you move forward with the change order that we're going to bring forth today. I did want to share some really good news regarding the trees, because I know that was a big concern at town meeting. We did work very closely with an arborist, Davy Resources Group, and we used them consulting up front when we were coming up with the plans to come up with an approach that would mitigate any potential for damage to the trees. We employed that, and then we also continued to contract with them so that they were on site during the project and actually helped to prune the roots rather than just ripping them out. We pruned them and used they use air actually to get at the roots so that they can do that. We did get the final tree assessment. I was going to send that to you, but it's a really large document. I didn't want to clog up your email, but if anyone's interested, I can certainly send it to you. But the long and short is that by following their recommendations, which was the biggest part was not putting in a new base, not digging below the existing base that was under the old asphalt walkways. By leveraging that, we were able to avoid a lot of damage to the roots. And also using some root barriers when we did the installation of the new brick. And the long and short is that their final assessment is that no damage was done to any of the trees by the work that we did. Everyone is probably saying, well, wait a minute, there are trees that came down during the project. Well, there were some trees that were involved in an act of God, I guess you'll call it. Prior to the project, we lost the evergreen that was on the common, as well as a very large, I believe it was a oak. And those came down of their own accord. We also had a motor vehicle accident that took out a cherry tree. And then there were 4 other trees that the arborist deemed to be unhealthy and a potential risk. And once the town knew that it was a potential risk, they had to come out. So the work itself was not responsible for any trees being lost on the common. And we have replanted everything but the one that was lost from the motor vehicle accident that we are still working on how we're going to do that. And that's part of what I want to ask you folks tonight. So that's where we are with that. The change orders, I know I sent those in an email to you, so hopefully you've had that. I will tell you that the cost for both change orders can be done within our project budget. We have the money to do it. We did hold a public hearing in June to get input from the town on what they would like to see. And the result of that was the design that you have before you tonight. There is a rendering of it here for anyone in the audience if they would like to see it. What we are proposing doing is using a 1 in 20 slope rather than the traditional 1 in 12 slope that you usually see with ramps. By using a more gradual slope, you avoid the need for handrails, and that in turn makes it so that you retain the historical integrity of the building. It has the same look and feel, even though you're providing accessibility. We've obtained letters of support, which you, as a board, have also been included on from both CPC and the Disability Commission for this work. This is work that was identified as being needed by your ADA self-evaluation and transition plan that you hired a consultant with. Some folks may ask why this wasn't included in the original scope. It was because that study was still ongoing at the time we were putting together the plans. And we did talk about it at town meeting that we were in support of accessibility, but at the time we didn't know what direction the town would be going in with that, what exactly would be needed. So it wasn't included in the original plan. Fortunately, we came in well under budget. And because of that, we have the money to not only do what we said we were going to do, but add this additional much needed improvement. So I don't know if you want me to also talk about the backflow regulator, or if you want to talk about this particular change order first.
That's old, the backflow's old, right?
No, it's not old. So right now,
Well, I mean, it came up a long time ago.
it was brought to us over the summer
Yeah, yeah.
by
what I
the
meant.
Grafton Water District. It is an EPA requirement that we have a backflow preventer. It prevents the water from backing into the drinking water if there was ever to be a flood. So it's not something that the town can avoid, and it is the town's responsibility, although the Grafton Water District brought it to our attention, is not really their responsibility. It is the town's responsibility. And they're gracious enough to offer to provide some of the material for it, which helps to keep the costs down. But it is something that we clearly need. We just planted all new grass, and we really need to be able to water that grass. So those are the two that are before you. I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Can I,
Go, Andy.
sorry, can I just add one thing?
Yep.
Andy Duchesne, 13 Meadowbrook Road. Hello, everybody. Just one comment on the cost of the bandstand. We did vet that with another contractor who did Shrewsbury's bandstand, very similar project, actually a slightly bigger bandstand, I think 6 years ago.
Yep, 2016, so 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago, for about the same price. So that was 5 years ago. So even though that number is a little eyebrow raising, it does seem like it's in line. We did pick it apart a bit just to sort of talk about that and see if there are other ways that we could, keep the scope down, keep the cost down. But then we did go outside of the project and do a price check. So we feel we still don't love the number, but we feel pretty comfortable that it's appropriate.
We did eliminate one aspect of it. A structural engineer was retained through Dixon Salo, and they had talked about the possibility of adding some additional support underneath. The building's been there, the structure's been there since 1935, and it's never been an issue. So, and it isn't code, and so we opted to not include that. So the original amount was like 121.5, and I believe we're at 114.480.
Right?
Yep. So, this change order, it shocked me when I saw it, because, the bandstand's not that big. So, I'm just gonna go through a couple of things, and then then I'll say something else. So general conditions is 17% when normally it's 5% on a regular job. Your labor's 36%, your material's 18%. And we're gonna spend $114,480, and we're not gonna do the whole job. Now, my suggestion is that it was built in 1935. I spent some time there today. It is in rough shape. So the drawings show that if they pull up the 5-quarter board and they find a rotted board, that they replace it. I'm looking at it, I looked at it today. 99% of those things are rotted.
Absolutely.
99% of that roof is not rotted, but it's unstable. It has leaked and it has been exposed to the weather. What I would like to see is us come up with drawings, or just revise the drawings that we have, take that down and build a whole new one. And the reason being is that if we don't do that, 5 years from now, that Trex that you want to put on the deck is gonna be like this all over the place. It doesn't have a permanent foundation, it doesn't have any permanent structural stability under there. Let's do it. Change the columns. I know the columns are in the drawings, it says we're just gonna sand down and paint the columns. Some of the columns look like they've been chewed on by by bears. Let's do it right. Let's rebuild the whole bandstand and do it right. You're gonna spend $114,000, spend $170,000 and do it right. That's my suggestion.
I believe the columns that are rotted are in the scope to be replaced.
Right.
Well, no, they say, according to the drawings, they said at the bottom, that you're gonna cut up and what I call it in construction is scab on a piece on the bottom. And put it back on the concrete block that it's on there, or replace it to a solid concrete block. Let's put in some footings and do it right. It's gonna be there forever. Let's do it right. That's all I want.
One of the things to consider in this, and we certainly talked about this as a committee, this project's being funded by CPA money. And we have to follow the Secretary of the Interior standards for that. And this is a historic building. This is a historic project. So to just replace it is not really an option, unfortunately, with CPC money. You wouldn't be able to do that. We did have in the plan shoring up the foundation. I told you, I just explained how we had taken that out. That can be added back in to shore up that. This is a pretty hefty rebuild of the building.
We originally had money in it to do the roof as well. So I'm
Jam,
ready.
Jam's got.
It's still
Jam-
included.
Jam's
Right.
got
It's
all-
still included in there.
Jam's got all of that in there.
Right.
So he's got replacing all of the joists. And
Right.
all of
Yep.
the, and all of the rod, all of the roof deck and everything like
Correct.
that. He's got it in here because I can see it in his price.
Yes. That's
But
part
if
of
you read the drawings and the specs, it would indicate that any work found that was rotted or anything like that could be an additional change order. So that's what it says on the drawings. So
Right. That is what. Yeah.
I
that is-
just want it, and Paul, I just want it done. Whatever we have to do it right and make it last 30, 40, 50 years and make it look the same, let's do it.
So shoring up the foundation was gonna be an extra $10,000 or $12,000, is that?
I don't know if I have that.
Yep,
figure
it's
exactly
not a code requirement, and we did discuss augmenting what's there right now. I mean, it's sort of haphazard concrete blocks, and we were going to make that real and consistent so that the structure was improved.
Yep.
But right, the issue with going with full frost walls and footings is you've got it really impacts the price. This thing's got to get basically you have to lift up almost the whole thing or do it in parts, excavate down 5 feet. And it's just a lot more work, and it's not really a code requirement. I think that we could do something in between and give the building some better than it's sitting on right now. Clearly, it hasn't moved. That hasn't gone anywhere. This structural engineer was doing what structural engineers do, and so he was going for it in terms of a whole system, which again isn't code required, and I don't think is really necessary given what's happened with this building so far.
But that was the original price, which included that work, was $121,580, I believe.
And you're at 114 now, so for,
So it was around 7,000, 7,000, I believe.
But that 121 didn't replace the columns, didn't replace the structural in the roof. It didn't replace the structural in the floors, according to the drawings.
It replaced rotted
Rotted.
structures, and the ones that aren't, they've been there a long time.
how much wiggle room do you have left for additional change orders once you start?
Well, we have if we were to move forward with both of these, about 130,000, give or take, right now. But we are going to have additional change orders after that motor vehicle accident that took out our brand new archway
Yeah.
and lantern. We have an electric panel that's not too far from that location, and we have concern for that. So we think their bollards should be put in to protect that. In addition, and this is a question I have for the town administrator, we have, there was a motor vehicle accident there in the spring that took out 3 sections of fence, and there are 4 actually, granite posts that are missing. In talking to some of the staff, it's apparently like $1,200 a post. So there's 4 of those, that's $4,800. There's a beautiful mature cherry tree that was destroyed, and that needs to be replaced. That will need to be purchased and then planted, and then obviously we'll need new railings for the fence, and that has to be installed. And I assume you guys pay prevailing wage, which is probably around $140 an hour. It'll take multiple people, multiple hours to do. So you're probably talking, 7,000 or 8,000 to do that work, plus the other change order. So
Is there no insurance involved in that, considering it was an accident?
No, so insurance doesn't cover fences or vegetation.
The two things.
What about arches?
So the arch had electricity in it, so it is a light post and not a fence.
That's good.
so that will be covered, and the damage. I assume the brick was damaged in that. It's there was oil spilt on the brick.
Brickwork is not covered.
And in addition to that, the lantern was destroyed, and those are all
Lantern is covered.
those are all custom made.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can make it a lamp post, we can get it covered. That's the
So,
That's the takeaway.
so there is some money for sure. And there's also we need to aerate in the spring per the arborist recommendations. So there will be a slight fee for that. But yeah, we do have some room. We could do that additional work. Unfortunately, we can't replace NUCPC money. That's not an option for
Can I
us
make
to
a
do.
comment on that, Colleen? So I hear Ray's opinion on it. I have a different one. I feel that this structure is part of the character of the common, and I feel strongly about preserving that piece. Very similar to what we did to the library. It matches the neighborhood. I would not want to take it down and rebuild it. I mean, it might be silly to other people that there was a movie there in 1935 that we all are proud of this particular gazebo, but it's part of the character of Grafton Common, and I would rather fund it through CPC and preserve that building and that structure than take it down and replace it. I understand what Ray is saying, and he certainly has far more experience in construction than I do. And, I also look at the one like in South Grafton and understand that like that is much better to use per se, but I'm in support of moving forward with this project with the CPC money. I want to thank you guys for all your hard work. The common looks beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm really happy to hear about the tree planting. And Paul, I think you just answered my question about tree maintenance. I'm kind of skipping around here, but so there will be extra funding needed for tree maintenance in the spring, correct? As far as like the new trees that have been planted, you think some funds will be spent on that?
I didn't get any recommendations for that other than really their report was focused on the trees that were already there, not the ones that were planted.
Okay,
Certainly we could put some kind of plant food in there as part of it. But really it's the aeration of the soil, which
I
is
see.
going to help the
Okay.
trees because they need to get air to help to rejuvenate.
understood. And then the replacement of the cherry tree.
I would like to
Yeah.
include that, but there's no insurance money for it, so that's gonna come out of this.
Okay.
As well, and then I don't know how we do the granite posts. Does that need to come out of this project too? Or,
But I would think that they're not the same project. One's
it
motor
isn't
vehicle
as
damage.
it is today. It is not. It would have to be a change order, as would the damage that was done to the archway and all.
Right, so the archway will be insurance covered.
Partially, it sounds like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would consider them not the same project. You have the restoration project, and then you have MVA damage. So I would think we would find a different funding source for the MVA damage, and your CPC project remains intact.
Okay.
Would be how I would prefer to see that move forward.
I would too, because
be
it's not part of that project. It was an accident,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they both were. Yeah.
So can you guys just explain to me a little bit more about the cost saving measures of not doing the foundation? I know it's not code, but it sounds like it's $7,000 and you're about to put $115,000 worth of work into it. So why wouldn't you want a secure foundation?
It's not necessary. What's there right now and this augmentation that we're gonna do to what's there is a lot less work and it's gonna serve the same purpose. Doing all that work to put a 4-foot frost wall underneath that small structure really isn't gonna, there's no bang for your buck, basically.
Right. And we were
But
concerned
you
about
are
the
gonna
cost.
bolster, what's underneath.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so. Alright, so I'm in support of that. You said that there was sort of a medium, I'm not in favor of trying to do the frost wall and lift the whole thing up but if there's any additional structural components that could be strengthened, and kind of fortified to make it last a little bit longer, now's the time to do it. I'm in agreement with Ray that we need to do it right, so,
Yeah, we want this to last a long time for sure.
right?
No question.
I'm interested in, can you talk to me about the decision to put Trex down versus, regular wood? and I'm thinking more from a historical angle, I guess. You know, CPC is always very diligent about making sure that they're picking correct materials to the period and all that, and I'm just wondering. I was a little surprised to see Trex there. So, just wondering, what the thinking was.
So we limited it to areas that would be in close contact with the ground. Trex will last far longer than wood. Even pressure treated wood won't last as long as Trex. So, Andy, if you want to elaborate on that.
I mean, we're saying Trex, but were we actually proposing it for the floor or for the trim that touches the ground?
No,
The
the
trick-
Trex is on the floor, it's according to the drawings.
Right, right.
It's the floor and where it touches the ground.
Because I hear you, Ray. I mean, I'm the issue was maintenance, right? As always, it's very difficult to do preventative maintenance on a lot of things, and this is one of them, clearly. So the idea was that was strictly a maintenance decision. But I do think, again, I'm always like the guy that wants to find the middle road here. I think there's a way to do this so that we could do, if we wanted to do, we could do trim in PVC. It looks exactly the same. You paint it, it's great. It doesn't rot if it's against mulch on the ground. But to your point, Ray, if we're gonna do the flooring out of regular wood, we certainly could.
Well, no, I wouldn't do it. Mahogany is, and everybody thinks
but-
mahogany's wicked
no,
expensive.
yeah.
Mahogany's actually cheaper than Trex.
Right. What I meant by regular wood is actual wood, not Trex. Right. Yeah. No, mahogany's the thing to use there.
And that's what we used on the molding on the townhouse, all the dental molding. Those are all in mahogany, the ones
Yep.
we replaced.
Yep.
So that's certainly an option that we could explore.
So to me, that's would be preferable, just because that's the thing that everybody's going to be actually standing on, and to have that be something that's a little bit more historically accurate. It's a little nitpicky, but I was surprised seeing everything else that was going into it, and then kind of putting Trex as the surface that you're actually going to be standing on. I totally understand it with the lattice work that's going to go around it, and from a maintenance standpoint.
Right.
But I think if you've got a covered structure, it should be fine for decades.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So I attended that hearing in June, and there was discussion about adding lighting to the inside of the roof and even down around the base, so the walkway could be lit up. Is that included in this as well?
Yeah, we already have a light. It was actually donated for the interior. I'm not sure what we have for exterior lights off the top of my head. Do you remember?
I don't think so. We did talk about doing some sort of accent light around the bottom, but I don't think we actually did it because it just, in terms of historical nature, we didn't want to have this, sort of more modern approach to lighting. So yeah, I don't
And you
think
also-
that got included.
You also can't appreciate it because they're not lit up yet. But we have all the new lamps that are going in there. So, once that goes in, if we see that it's dark, we can certainly revisit that.
Okay.
I just have one more quick question. So obviously you need approval on this from us tonight, but barring that, what's the timeline for the project?
So
The jam's ready to go. So if we, when we get approval, they're ready to go. They're pretty used to working into November, December, beginning of January. So
Good.
they're willing to roll the dice in terms of the weather and the temperature. But yeah, it's not anything that, all this work can be done outside.
Good.
it may be that the painting needs to be put off until
Right.
the spring just because
Yeah.
of the weather. But
Makes sense.
Fine.
Yep.
So, I thought you guys were gonna jump at my proposal, but I guess not. I thought it was a good idea.
Sorry, Ray.
So then I go, that's okay.
I
I've
don't,
lost before.
I don't disagree, but
So I go back, I'll go back to, here's all my little notes and everything that I do, because I break down change orders and contracts constantly. And one of the things that's shown, and I said this a minute ago, one of the things that's shown on the drawings is that you will replace a rotted piece of wood when you find it. And they have floor joist replacement of $2,870 and $1,600 of labor and $1,600 of material. What does that include?
their costs include includes just the and you're not gonna like this, but it includes the drawings, but it also includes the discussions that we've had with them. So that's replacement of all the
Okay,
floor
so
structure.
it's replacement of all the floor joists. So
Yes,
in other
it
words,
is.
if they don't replace all the floor joists, we're gonna get money back.
But they're gonna replace all the floor joists.
Yeah, they need.
It's not,
Here's what I'm getting to.
It's-
Here's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
So on the drawings, it says one thing, but in this $114,000, they're actually replacing all of those things.
that is correct,
Doesn't say that here,
right.
anywhere. It doesn't say that, on the perimeter joist, replacement, or replace, the structural system of the roof. It doesn't say that.
Just so you understand, the items that you see that you're referring to, those weren't in their original change order. We actually asked them, just so we could understand the
Yeah,
pricing
I-
better, to provide that breakdown.
I mean, Ray, they've been very good to work with. I'd be more than happy to have this
No,
updated, so it's in writing. So no, John, no, I think it's fair to have,
I'm
like,
not
let's
saying
make sure we get the full
I'm
scope
not
in
saying
black
that.
and
I
white.
look at a set of drawings and it
Yep.
says this,
Yeah.
and it says, if you find this, replace it.
Right,
That's not what this says. This actually says we're gonna replace them all.
correct.
And then we're gonna replace all the ribbon boards, and we're gonna replace all of the roof structure. Not structure, but the planks on the roof.
Right, yep.
So the only other issue that I have is their price. Painting, $11,400. It's not that big. Railings, $11,400. Where have I heard that number before? So, those are little things that I look at, and they're big red flags to me. But if you guys wanna go with this and not rebuild the entire thing, which and I'm not talking about a full frost wall all the way around, I'm talking about piers, cause that's what it's sitting on now. But if you guys wanna go with that and you're comfortable with it, then I guess,
Andy's been working closely with him. Can you share your thoughts?
I mean, Ray, I don't disagree that it would be great to replace the whole thing, but I think Paul's point is that he doesn't think that we necessarily can using CPC money. So I think this is gonna get us,
well, we have other ways of doing things, so, and
true, true.
again, I'm not trying to be a pain in
No,
the
no,
ass.
no, not at all. No, I'm with you.
I'm trying to say, I thought that you guys would go for it, but obviously you're not, so we'll put this thing together and we'll paint it and we'll look at the old columns that have been there for 40 years or 50 years and we'll just deal with it.
One of the things is the timing too, Ray. We haven't been able to use the common for this past season and really don't want to run into that next season. People are very anxious to get back on there. I know the town administrator's office got lots of calls wanting to be able to use that. This is the quickest way to get it done, and we're going to do it right. And we'll make sure that what's in the plans is what we sign with them.
So how does the rest of the board feel about wood flooring?
Okay, so me personally, it's a movie prop, so I don't find the historical significance to it. I mean, I know that's not a very popular opinion, but at the end of the day, if we're spending that kind of money, I want it to last. So whatever you think material is going to last.
I agree with that too. I just don't want the whole structure taken down and replaced, but I think, adding some life, but
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
given a choice that wood flooring, mahogany is the right way to go.
Yeah.
It's gonna last a good long time. It's not gonna warp with heat or with load over time. It's a better material to use.
So if we were to approve this change order, is that material within the same budget?
Yes, yeah, it's actually less.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
I would think. Okay, well, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. All right. Take a motion.
All right. Let's see, so I will move. Let's see, where is it? That the board vote to approve the Grafton Common Improvements change orders as presented and authorize the chairman to sign.
second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right. Do we need a second one, or does that cover both the change orders?
That's it.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna go, thanks guys for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for bringing
Thanks.
that for everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're gonna skip
Takes
back
a long
over
trial that
to
time.
treasure collector.
Yep.
Awesome.
Tell you looked at it.
Hello, Madeline. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Let me just turn on my camera. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So why don't you tell us about yourself? I guess. I mean,
Yeah. Hi, Madeline. It's Evan. We met at the interview. So Madeline is the treasurer of Munson, where I just came from, and Madeline applied for our treasurer collector position, and was the top candidate to come out of that conversation. So we've offered her the job, which she has accepted. So Madeline, you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name's Madeline. I have been in my current position in the treasurer's office for about 6 years now. I'm a member of the MCTA, which I've been a member for about 5 years. I live in Munson, and I don't know, I'd be happy to answer anything else you have questions for me.
Did you pull a Kevin Mizikar?
I did,
Did
because
you?
Kevin Mizikar pulled a Kevin Mizikar on me.
That's a good one.
So, no, so Madeline, I'll just give a little background because I'm probably better at talking you up than you're better at talking yourself up.
Thank you.
So Madeline, we actually hired her in my previous role as the admin to the Park and Rec department. Quickly realized that she was bored in that role because she's too smart for what was happening there, and not busy enough. So we had an assistant treasurer position opened up. We promoted Madeline to that. You were in that role for about a year, and then the treasurer left, and we promoted Madeline up to that position. And in every role, she has excelled. Great personality, great team spirit. Really gets involved in the culture, and I think that's what we're trying to foster here. So I think she's going to be a great addition to the team.
welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right.
So,
So-
yeah.
Take a motion? Yeah.
I move the board vote to affirm the town administrator's appointment of Madeline Goodrich as the treasurer collector.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Congratulations.
Welcome,
Welcome aboard.
Madeline.
Thank you.
Looking forward
Thank
to
you.
meeting you in person.
I'm looking forward to meeting you guys.
Okay. Bye, Madeline. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going back to the agenda as presented, and we're on to C, page contracting. So this is gonna do a building department service window. Do you want to say anything
No,
about that?
page contracting is the demolition of 60
Oh,
Depot
demolition.
Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So this is a project that the town, or a property that the town took in 2019. Actually, no, in 2018 is when it started the tax title process. So if you go down Depot Street, right past the sewer treatment facility, it's on the if sewer's on your left, it's on your right hand side. It's a vacant building.
Is this the one Mr. Spinney brought to our attention a couple
Yes.
months ago?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I
So
thought.
this is we put the funding for that on the fall town meeting,
Uh-huh.
and it was approved. So now we're just doing the contract and knocking it down.
Great.
Perfect. Any questions?
No questions, just a comment. That's sort of diagonally down the street from the. There's a land trust property.
Right
No,
there. Yep.
with
Yeah.
no with no parking.
Yep.
But there's a sidewalk that connects it.
Okay.
I'd like to see maybe some parking and just signage to point people so that they can access the. So not for right now, but something to think about.
We will think about it. I don't. We'll think about it. I'm not sure that it can go there.
Okay.
There's other constraints that are there.
It's just it's a really nice property. It's a bummer that it's hard to get to. You
Yes.
have to kind of park pretty far away.
Yeah. Yeah. There's potential, but let me do a little more research on it.
Okay.
Let's knock the house down first.
All right. Take a motion.
Yes.
I move the board vote to sign the demolition contract with Page Contracting for 60 Depot Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declared the motion carried. All right, on to Antonelli's, now the building department.
Yes. So we are looking to add an ADA accessible customer service window to the hallway so that people can get permits and interact with the building department right from the hallway without having to come in and try to navigate the office.
So similar to planning.
So similar to planning, but smaller.
Okay.
It's only 6 feet because we have columns on either side, so it can't be as wide as that one is.
And it is ADA accessible, right?
Fully accessible.
Great.
Yep. Yep. And it will have plexiglass in it or glass in it, similar to the treasurer collector's office, learning the lessons we did of the pandemic. Not creating just an open hole to the hallway, but some separation should be needed.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, we'll take a motion.
I move the board vote to sign the contract with Antonellis Construction Company for the building department service window project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. And now we have a 1-day beer and wine license for Apple Tree Arts. They're having a concert on January 28th, 2022. Is anybody here from them? Not that they have to be.
No, I believe the conversation was that they did not need to come. It was a
Yeah.
something they've done before.
Great. So we'll take a motion.
I move the board vote to grant the 1-day beer and wine license to Apple Tree Arts on January 28th, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. 1-day beer and wine license for Sunflower Shanty for multiple dates. Looks like they have 3 dates in November and 6 dates in December.
Is there anybody here to speak to that, or?
No,
Great.
they're
Okay.
never here.
I move the board vote to grant a 1-day beer and wine license to Sunflower Shanty Trevor Holden on November 21st, 26th, 27th, and December 3rd, 4th, 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, so now we're on to the John Stevens part of the agenda. The way I would like this to be handled is Mr. Stevens is not going to be joining us tonight. He did send in an email that we will read. Then the board will have its discussion, and then anybody that has a comment will be allowed to come up and speak, as long as it's within this polite realm of what we need to be doing here. So we'll start with Mr. Stevens' email.
So this was addressed to Peter Carlson, and then followed up by basically an apology that he should have sent it to the rest of the board. And he says, please accept my apologies for my delayed reply to your email. I returned to Texas last week to deal with a personal family matter. Thank you for your invitation to attend the select board meeting, but given my current situation, I don't think I will be able to attend. I'm sorry that my email has been such a distraction and has taken up so much of your valuable time. Quite simply, I received an email from a friend who was concerned about 25 Worcester Street and the possible removal of the senior affordable housing restriction on new construction. As a longtime supporter of affordable housing, especially senior housing, I was pleased that the town-owned property had been dedicated to address a serious need in our community. With the removal of the restriction, I was apprehensive that this opportunity might be lost. In my haste to share my concern with my friends, I copy and pasted the email that I had received. I thought that I had deleted the entire contents of the email, but failed to delete the embedded letter. I certainly do not believe the exaggerated claims it made, and upon reflection, think that perhaps its author, unbeknownst to me as it was included in an email forwarded to me, was confusing the 25 Worcester Street property and the 7 Upton Street project at the site of the former DPW facility. I've called Grafton my home for almost 3 decades, and I've participated in the life of the community by contributing my time to various local groups and organizations over the years. I'm extremely proud of my adopted hometown and would never intentionally do anything to harm it. And I know that my dear friend and first Grafton mentor, Millie Bean, would haunt me mercilessly if I did. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined my personal email to support senior affordable housing could have set off such a firestorm and create such acrimony. Please accept my apologies, John.
Okay, does the board have any comments about that?
About this or about this?
So, with Mr. Stevens not being present, this is going to be limited to, I don't want to speak about the individual. He's not here. He was invited to be here, so it does make it a little difficult. But there is something that, the board wanted to talk about further. So, tread
Yeah.
lightly.
I'll speak.
Go for it.
So, the only thing I'm gonna say about this is at the begin, at this the first meeting that we had, that we discussed this. My comment was that I had a problem with the luxury townhouses. We have found out that that wasn't John's, he didn't produce that document. He just copied and pasted it. And the next thing that I said was, let's just leave this alone. Just leave it alone, walk away, let's move on. The town voted twice for over 55 senior housing at 25 Worcester Street, at 2 different town meetings. That's the will of the town, and that's it as far as I'm concerned. There's no need to discuss anything. There's no need to discuss anything further. Let the Housing Authority Trust work on the 55 and over and move on.
I think we
That's-
only voted
that's
on it at one town meeting though.
Twice.
What was the second town meeting?
First time when we changed it, when the land got transferred,
Right, and the second time?
last town meeting.
We passed over it. We didn't
Passed
vote.
over it.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
Oh, everything that I just said, I take it all back. No, I'm no.
Just to be clear.
You know what?
But you're not wrong. I just
Okay,
wanted
I'm not wrong. Colleen knows all that stuff because she watches everything.
twice.
But just leave it alone. 55 and older, just leave it alone. There's no need to discuss this. There's no need to bring up John Stevens or anybody else. Leave it alone. That's mine.
Okay, so does anybody else have anything to say? Because I did prepare a statement that I wanted to read.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So after the John Stevens email was discussed, more emails came into the board, and what started as an email spreading misinformation has quickly escalated to an additional email threatening one of the board members, me. Mr. Stevens acknowledges he made a mistake, and tonight that is what we were expected to discuss. However, I am too distracted by the threatening email Mr. Warwick sent to the board, where he stated that depending on how this conversation goes, he would be reporting me to the state. What started as an email full of misinformation to stop a Warren article has grown into a threat where I can no longer comfortably discuss an agenda item without fear of some kind of retribution. This is not okay, and this is why misinformation is dangerous. We are all entitled to our opinions, and some of us are better at articulating them than others, but we cannot allow differences of opinions to escalate into threatening behavior or coercion. We've all taken abuse stepping into public service, whether it's inappropriate text messages or digs on social media, but no one should be made to feel unsafe about having a conversation, and that is where we are today. I'm not sure about what can be done to prevent future threats. We are seeing this plague local officials all over the country, especially in school committees right now. On the spectrum of threats, this is a mild one, but I have zero tolerance for being threatened, and I wanted to call out the behavior before it has a chance to escalate again. I want to use this as an opportunity for the board to say we in no way will allow our elected officials or volunteers to be threatened to achieve an outcome, and I wanted the board to discuss what they think we can do. Okay, relax. So what do you guys think?
What do I think?
Yep.
I mean, I read that, I read that. I think this whole thing is getting so far out of control that we're never gonna get anywhere. That you got people over here complaining, you got people over here that are complaining, and we're not gonna get, we're never gonna get anything done. The town needs affordable housing. The town needs senior affordable housing. And whether it makes our numbers or it doesn't make our numbers, we need senior affordable housing. That's my opinion. I don't understand why everybody's all verklempt about this whole damn thing. It's just, it's beyond me. And when you get into, a threat or whatever it is, no one on this board wants to get that. No one. But if this keeps on, it's gonna be totally out of control. And really, that's my opinion. I think, let's just move on. Let's move on to the next agenda item, as far as I'm concerned.
You want to speak on it a little bit? So, like probably everybody in this room, I have been grappling with this for a week now as more and more information came out. And, you know, my original thought, and I said when the board discussed it about a week or so ago, I did not like the letter that John sent out. Personally, for me, I didn't like the attachment, and I said that. And it didn't mean I didn't like John as a person. I didn't respect him as a volunteer. It was just a comment of, yeah, actually, this is something that I would see as a mistake. And knowing John and being serving on committees, I knew it was a mistake. And there is no way that I would ask him to resign as a volunteer, someone who's been with CPC since the inception of CPC, working side by side with him on the library building committee, seeing all the hours that he has put in to this community, and I'll get to you. More hours than probably most of us here on the board. I don't think that's the solution. And then this email from Mr. Warwick came out, someone else who I like in the community. And I work side by side, not only with another select board person, but another woman select board person that I really enjoy, that there's two of us on a board together. And I started getting so frustrated with the lack of respect that's going on. That's the only way I can put it. And so I started thinking about the core of the issue, which this issue, and I'm hoping we let Ed speak tonight, is really about affordable housing. And I want to be a supporter of affordable housing. I want to be a supporter of affordable housing on 25 Worcester Street. And we're all going to have different opinions on it. But if we're divided on affordable housing in our community, if we're divided about what a select board does or who sends an email, and this is how we're going to spend our time now, is just pointing fingers at people of doing things the way we don't think they should have done them, we're never going to make progress. Like Ray said, we're never going to make progress. And so for me, by asking John Stevens to resign, which I absolutely will not do, is only going to make a bigger divide on 25 Worcester Street. And I do not want that to happen. And so that's how I feel about it. I'm done talking about it. I thank everybody who came out tonight for their support. I don't want to talk about Colleen if this board wants to discuss how we're going to handle this kind of stuff, but we see it on a national level. We see it on a state level. It's come to Grafton. We're all pointing fingers. It's been a rough 2 years. Let's all just take a deep breath and move on. John Stevens, thank you for your service to the town of Grafton. That's it.
Right?
Go for it. No. Well, I know, Doreen just said, we'll listen to Ed talk. I don't want to listen to anybody talk. I don't think anybody should get up and say anything, because as far as I'm concerned, and obviously as far as Doreen is concerned, this issue is over. So if people want to get up and talk and burn our ears for the next hour about stuff that doesn't have anything to do with this, you're just wasting your time. I don't think, Colleen, I don't think anybody should get up and speak. Again, let's move on.
Unfortunately, they spoke at public comment and we shut them down, promising them their opportunity to speak now. So I am going to allow them their opportunity to speak now.
So I'm fine with that, and I do want to hear from anybody who wants to speak, but I think we need to limit people to maybe a minute or two to speak.
Yep.
I don't want any long diatribes about anything, but I'm happy to hear, people's brief comments.
Yep. And I don't want any more threats. We're done with threats. No more threats. So, Ed, if you'd like to get up and start.
Ed Prisby, 25 Daniel Drive. Well, now that I've been told that one side of the board doesn't want me here for more than 1 minute and the other one doesn't want me at all, I'll try and be as brief as I can. I came up here tonight not to denigrate one person or a volunteer who's been volunteering for 25 years or however long it's been. I'm here because over the course of the past decade, I've spent myself countless hours on the cause of affordable housing, which I consider to be one of the preeminent issues that's facing my generation and the generation above me and the one behind me. Nobody is getting anywhere either in this country or locally without the ability to save for the basic necessities of life. And we're trying to create projects that are going to help them along the way. Unfortunately, what I found out over the course of the past month is that there is institutional opposition to affordable housing in Grafton. Now, the letter that you read from Mr. Stevens is nice and everything, but for him to come out and say that he's disappointed that there wouldn't be senior affordable housing at 25 Worcester Street is a canard. He voted against it. I sat right in front of him and watched him vote against it. So did a lot of people in this room. A lot of people that I thought would be supporters of affordable housing. So when I got John's email, I knew right away it wasn't a mistake. That email wasn't a mistake. When he says in his email that either this should be a senior affordable housing, because by the way, we're just considering an option with the land, that this should either be a senior affordable housing or return to the town, that's not support of affordable housing. That's not what that was. I'm sorry. And all over the country, public employees and public volunteers who spread disinformation are being dismissed from their jobs. This is not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment absolutely does not protect people who spread disinformation either in their capacity as a volunteer or an employee, or even as an individual as a volunteer or an employee, where that disinformation is so damaging as to erode confidence in the performance of public functions. So now you got a threat. You think that's going away tonight without your leadership? There's a certain degree of privilege, Ray, that comes along with assuming that when you say a conversation's done, there aren't any more consequences. Ray, I'm not done talking.
And you know what?
Hold on.
Yes, you are.
Hold on.
No, I'm not. You don't have the authority to say that.
Okay,
Because-
both of you stop.
No.
No.
He brought
no,
my name
stop.
up, and there's no
we're not
reason to bring
fighting.
my name up.
Stop.
I'm sorry.
I'm tired of this bullshit.
We're done. We're not fighting. You're done. I'm sorry. Jim, you wanted to get up?
Hypocrite.
Yeah, hypocrite. Go pound sand.
Stop.
My time doesn't start till I get up there.
You don't even have to tell us that you're reading the letter, because you already did.
All right. I just want to say this first. I serve, like many of you, I'm on 4 committees in town, and so are you.
Stop. Let's.
So are you.
Yeah,
You know.
Can we all
and
just remember that we all live in Grafton. We're all neighbors.
Yeah.
We might not agree on different things, but please, let's be respectful. to
Well,
one another.
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. And what I want to do is thank you for your service. And listen to this. But you know what we need in this town? We need the passion that you see in an Ed Prisby for something like this, for affordable housing. All right. And I've worked by his side for over 10 years. Did he leave?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. But anyway, he's passionate about it, and that's what we need for affordable housing. I had a different take on what was going on. I think this whole thing wouldn't have been blown out of proportion had it not been for some publicity that was completely beyond your control, which led me to send a letter to the editor of the Grafton News. And I said, I am writing concerning the uneven attention on the front page story concerning Community Preservation Chairperson John Stevens in the Grafton News of November 4th, 2021. 3 people made comments in the story, as well as mention made from the board to invite John to the select board meeting on November 16th, 2021. I found it disappointing that no one reached out to either John Stevens or the CPC for comment. Again, remember who this is going to. This didn't go to you. This was going to them. All right. Nor was it mentioned that John has been traveling to and from Texas and would most likely be in Texas on November 16th, as he is spending much of his time as possible caring for his mother, who's in hospice. John and I are the only 2 charter members serving on the CPC since its inception. In John's absence, I would have loved to have commented on his suitability as a member of the CPC. I have witnessed firsthand, since the very beginning of our association, John's passion for all things pertaining to the town of Grafton participation with the Community Preservation Act. Our town has benefited from John's knowledge, skills, and abilities as the CPC has made an indelible mark utilizing all of the improvements possibly available from the CPA. I have served next to John as the vice chairperson on the CPC, and I can certify that there has been no serious breach of duty as a result of his service. He had been approved, he has appropriately, he has been appropriately reappointed by various select boards over the years, and in my informed opinion, any move to remove him from the CPC would be counterproductive to the mission of the CPC in our town. Under John's leadership, much has been accomplished in the areas of open space, historic preservation, recreational improvements, and affordable housing. In fact, the Affordable Housing Trust has been funded each year since their inception with funding from the CPA. The Affordable Housing Trust has met with the CPC on a regular schedule. All funding requested by the Affordable Housing Trust to the CPC has been recommended for approval and sent on to town meeting. The outstanding progress made by the Affordable Housing Trust has been a testament to the ability of the CPC and the Affordable Housing Trust to work in concert in each of our missions to facilitate more affordable housing to the town of Grafton. John Stevens has been a master facilitator as a member, chairperson on the CPC. His past service has been outstanding, and his future on the CPC is a necessary thing for the town of Grafton. So that went to the Grafton News. And I want to tell you good things about the CPC. We just got news this week that the state match for the CPC that's coming in right now is $210,000. So I love all of this talk about the CPC. If you're watching at home, if you have a project that has to do with affordable housing or recreational improvements or historic preservation or open space, come to a meeting. Let us know what you're thinking. We'll work with you and we'll make it happen for the betterment of the town. And you know what? You're already paying for it, so let's see the money go where you want it to go. So come and see us at the CPC or the Affordable Housing Trust. They're two great boards that work together with passion. Thank you.
Jim.
Thanks. Jim.
Thanks, Tim.
Did anybody else want to get up and say anything? I thought I saw a hand in the back. All right.
All right. I gotta just give you this letter, then I'll go back.
Hey, Jim, give me.
We'll come to you, Jim.
I don't really need this. I just use it to pick up girls.
Come on.
They're really slow.
Miss Rory?
Brooke Paget, 23 North Street. I never want to go after Jim because he gets so into it. This is just a quick observation for the board. I agree with everything that you're saying about tamping things down. I think part of the board's mission should also be to not exacerbate this kind of stuff. And what we had last meeting was 3 members of this board saying enough is enough, and you put it on again to talk about it again. Now, I'm not sure how, when it's a 3-2, 3 saying let's not do it, it got back on the agenda again. But that to me isn't leadership. It caused more of a problem. If the first time, this is an email that went to 10 people, only 1 person objected to that. This is what all this is about. 1 person, 1. He complained to Mr. Prisby, who complained to the board, and it exploded. And again, we had three members of this board saying enough is enough, which I think is the right vote to say it's a non-issue. Yet we are here. So I think this board is incumbent on you, if you want all the nice things that you just said about can we all get along, to spend your time trying to get us to all get along and not foment things and not bring things and put things on the agenda that should not be here. To Jim's point, we shouldn't be talking about this. There's a lot of stuff going on in this town. You know, we just got the treasurer collector, we had a new accountant, we have a new assistant, we have a new treasurer, we have, we need a fire chief. There's a lot of stuff to do. Not talk about one person who got his nose bent out of shape because he got an email. So, that's all. Thanks.
So just to clarify why it got back on the agenda was because this is a platform and we were talking about Mr. Stevens and it was a courteous thing to let him have the platform as well to see if he wanted to respond. That's how it got back on. It wasn't a 3-2 as you just represented it.
Well, when I saw that, I had three people on this board said, let it be. And 2 people on the board said, no, I want to put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
That's what I saw.
actually-
And I think if you had just left it alone, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, I agree with Brooke. I think the process should have been, we asked John Stevens, or if John reached out to us and said, I'd like to come to a board meeting, then we put it on the agenda. But I agree. I'm ready to get to talking about the fire department tonight. And
I'm with you.
I would rather have those discussions than
Let's do it.
he said, she said. We're, let's
Ms.
move
Roy,
on.
You do have one hand on Zoom, just so
Sure.
you know. So you gotta bring him in.
Yep.
Okay. Marilyn is with us. She just needs to unmute and she'll be able to talk.
Are you in charge of that?
She should be able to unmute
Okay.
herself.
Can you hear me?
We can.
We can. Hi.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Marilyn Kusher, 3 Lincoln Lane. I want to say that as I'm listening to what you're saying tonight, as well as what you said at the last meeting, I think accepting poor behavior from volunteers, no matter how long they have served, is quite frankly disgusting and demeaning to the town. I think that Ed Prisby is routinely vilified. He was shut down tonight, whereas Mr. Gallagher was allowed to speak as long as he wanted. The letter that was sent out to many people with misinformation. And for this board to say we know him and we like him and we are not going to make a big deal about it because we like him does this disservice to the town of Grafton, as opposed to saying something is unacceptable when we don't like somebody. So the fact that we like these people, somebody has made a threat against one of our board members, and the overriding theme is we need to let this go. This is not something we should be talking about. We should be tamping it down, and it cannot be tamped down. Many people are very upset, even if we're not as vocal as the people who are supporting these people that I don't know. I don't know them at all. But the fact that they have served this town for 25 years or 50 years and their family has been here since day one is completely irrelevant. What that letter sent, whether he meant to or not, whether he realized what he was doing or not, is irrelevant. The fact that he refused to join even by Zoom to talk about what he did, again, I think the whole thing is disgusting, and I'm very disappointed that 2 members or 3 members of this board simply want to sweep it under the carpet and pretend it didn't happen because we don't like Ed Prisby.
Point taken.
And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so we're all done with this. We're gonna go on to the continuation of the public hearing from 116 Upton Street.
Let's see.
Can I just tell Matt that CPC has money available and we can buy you another T for the Matt. Most people it's M-A-T-T,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Don't everybody leave all at once. We like having an audience.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
So I don't think we need to make a motion to open the public hearing. I believe it's still open.
Correct.
We'll just give a minute to everybody to clear out.
Yeah.
All right.
right. So since the public hearing is still open, do we want to present anything before we ask if there's public comment, or ask if there's public comment first?
So why don't can I go through because we're actually gonna combine, I think,
This
two
and the-
conversations into one.
This
Yep.
in the memorandum?
Yep,
Perfect.
because they're symbiotic.
Yep.
And so just by way of recollection, we're talking about 116 Upton Street. There was interest in purchasing the property for the purposes of open space. The original proposal was let's purchase the property and then carve off the 3 lots. And then we had the conversation about reaching out and seeing if the developer is willing to create some kind of a deal where we don't have to go through the 61A process. I have been meeting with Clay from Eastland. He is the developer. He has been extremely easy to work with, and we were able to come to an agreement. And if you'll actually pull up the map, the town would be able to. Can you zoom in on this plot where it's green? We'd be able to waive our right of first refusal, not have to take ownership of the property, but accept an MOA, which would give the town that green section, which is exactly the area that the land trust was interested in for
Yeah.
preservation.
Yeah.
And I have spoken with the land trust. They are very happy with this proposal. So I think that we have accomplished all the goals that we set out to do. We don't outlay any taxpayer money. We still get the conservation land we're looking for, and the developer can continue to do what the developer would like to do to the rest of the parcel.
It's a perfect scenario.
It
Who
went,
does the survey and deed?
what's that?
Who does the survey and deed?
They'll do it at the end. We
We'll
don't
do it?
Yep,
We're not doing it?
we're not doing it.
Excellent.
And since it's donated property, in working with people, if they change that boundary line by 5-10 feet, it doesn't matter to us. You know what I mean?
No.
But they were great. Their wetland scientist actually delineated everything and did the carve out. So very easy to work with, and I can't thank them enough for their assistance with this. It went about as well as you could anticipate.
All right.
Good.
Great.
Stuff.
Is there any public comment about this? Because this is a public hearing. Anybody on Zoom?
Nope, no hands raised.
We can take a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion the board vote to
No, close the public hearing.
close the public hearing for chapter 61A 116 Upton Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, declared the public hearing closed. And then we can just make a motion.
I move the board vote to not exercise its right of first refusal on the parcel located at 116 Upton Road, Lot 10, property ID 076.0, followed by 4 zeros and then 0010.0.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. I declare the motion carried. All right. Now we're moving on to resignation.
Can you vote to
No.
do the
Yeah.
memorandum of agreement?
Yes. So,
There is
a presentation?
I can put it up if you wanted to. It's really just legalese that both attorneys have agreed to, town council and their attorney. So you'll just be moving to sign the MOA between Grafton and Upton Road Properties LLC 116 Upton Road.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion passes.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. And
Thank
on
you.
to resignations. So Karen McInnes is an election worker and the current warden of Precinct 3. She's been volunteering since 1992 and she is resigning.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Karen McInnes as election worker and warden of Precinct 3 effective November 1, 2021, and to send her a letter of thanks.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion passes.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
And then we have a resignation from the registers.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Diane Hutchinson Fontana as a registrar of voters effective immediately, and send her a letter of thanks.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion passes.
Thank you to Diane.
All right. So now we're on to appointments for Open Space and Rec Committee. And is Elizabeth with us or no?
She is not.
Okay.
I move the board vote to appoint Elizabeth Coveney to the Open Space and Recreation Committee for a term to expire on June 30, 2024.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion passes.
If, I just want to point out, Elizabeth was with us. on
That's what
Zoom,
I
and-
saw,
and
yeah.
Okay.
Something happened and she's gone. We did lose audio for a little bit, so maybe she tried to reboot or do
Yeah.
something. And
Okay. All right, so now we're on to appoint interim fire chief. So we're, does the board feel comfortable appointing Captain Canoyer as the fire department requested?
I mean, I don't
I
have
do.
a problem.
I am.
I don't have a
Yeah,
problem
I'm
with
comfortable with it.
The compensation that we talked the other day.
Yep. So I've been in contact with our labor attorney, and so and Paul, and so the reason we chose this language, successful implementation of a contract as negotiated. So because he's going to be filling another role beyond his general job, it creates a conflict of interest, and the way around the conflict of interest is to enter into a contract for a set period of time, and that also protects Paul's position coming back. Something happens to all of us,
Right.
and no one has to honor his other employment agreement.
Yep.
So we want to make sure we codify that in a real way. Paul was perfectly willing to do that. We have not talked about compensation, but we will. I think that it's important to compensate him fairly for this extra work that he's going to be doing. And council suggests that you do that as a set amount. And so we are budgeted to be able to do that, so I don't foresee there being an issue in that.
How do we do we have to put a time limit on it? And because there's going to be a set amount?
So that'll be part of the contract negotiation. It's my, this is what I told Labor Council, I think is the best approach. Have the contract sunset June 30th, 2022.
Okay.
If you needed to extend that, you could enter into a successor agreement.
Perfect.
But it would also say, that's the sunset provision. There's also, or upon hiring of a full-time chief and contract and whatever legalese they choose to put in
It
there.
would also align with the fiscal year too, which is good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do everything to the fiscal year.
So my only concern with this approach,
Yep.
is I want to make sure that we're making progress on the fire study committee recommendations.
Yep.
We need some kind of plan.
Yep.
And regular progress updates on that. So,
Sure.
There was a big part of my decision making around, I guess agreeing that Paul was a good choice.
Yep.
Is that we were going to be carrying out some progress on that study. If had we brought in an outside chief, I think that would have brought in a lot more resource potentially to work on that. But it sounds like the officers were really all saying they're going to step up.
Yep.
They're going to make progress on it. So I have confidence in that, but I also want to be making sure that we're getting regular progress updates and we do have an actual plan.
Yep, and we can make sure we accomplish that. That dovetails into another suggestion I'd like to make. So, by charter and statute, the strong chief reports to you. As soon as Paul becomes the strong chief on January 1, he would in theory report to you. You can delegate that reporting authority to me, and I would request that you do that. I talk to Paul almost every morning at 9 a.m. about everything else that's going on. And I would think that it would be more streamlined to not have him serving two masters, as they would say in the law, and just create a day-to-day situation that's tenable for the two of us to work together.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm agreeable
on
to
an
that.
interim basis, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yep. I mean, now
Yep.
for the full-time chief, I mean that it would sunset with Paul's.
Yep, and he
In-
would still
interim
be
period.
considered a strong chief. We would just
Yep,
hold
strong-
that delegation over to you.
Yep, and I did clear that with Labor Council that that's a viable option.
Do you need a motion for that, or is that just?
Yes, if you want to do it, I don't know if you want to do it as part of this, or if you wanted to do that as
Yeah.
part of a different conversation, that's at the board's
I
discretion.
would
obviously.
add that
Just
to
tie
the
it in,
motion.
yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to comment on one more thing, if I may, Colleen. I agree with Matt. I would like to see some kind of structure around, maybe guidelines and goals of the board's expectations, which is based on, the MRI report and, so however you determine that should be every 2 months, whatever it is, it would be nice either to get some sort of feedback, have Paul come before us, or, but that's important that we start moving forward on making this progress, and it'll make it easier for the new hire as well
Yep.
in that transition, so I feel strongly about it.
And here's the other thing is it's gonna actually make it easier for us to get that higher.
Agree.
Right? So if we see regular progress where, we're getting SOP, SOGs, we're,
Yep.
doing improved reporting, we're making progress and, the fire department is, just in better shape with somebody arriving, I think it's gonna be a lot easier to do the hiring. So,
Yeah.
let's make sure that we get that nailed down.
Yep, we will certainly do that. I want to be also cognizant of Paul's time as far as coming into night meetings and such like that. So we will create a metric that still gets the board what it wants, but is also considerate of, Paul. To me, Paul's really stepping up to support his town, and I think that's fantastic. I want him to be able to focus on doing the things you want him to do, and also running DPW and
Yeah,
the sewer
yeah.
department.
I totally agree with that.
And-
What I also heard though in the meeting was that all the officers were looking to step
Yep,
up.
absolutely. I'm
They're a team. They're a strong team.
Yep.
So
I just meant from the perspective of, I don't want to bring Paul in every select board meeting to give an update.
absolutely.
Right.
No.
And,
Yep.
and it would be fine to have the updates through you. We just,
Yeah, I also want to be balanced that I'm not
the person?
the person, because it's great until you ask a question that I've never thought of before in my life.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I want the board to be able to get the information that it wants and to see the progress rolling out. And I think we can do that. I just wanted to mention that I want to be real cognizant of Paul's time, because I think he's, really going above and beyond for his community, and I want to be sensitive to that as well.
Yes.
Colleen, I mean, I'd like to see the updates once a month.
Mhm.
And I was gonna suggest it through you.
Okay.
But even if Paul sent an email or one of the other offices, I think the board members are going to be extremely pleased with the decision that we made.
Mhm.
Extremely pleased. That a lot of people are stepping up to the plate and a lot of people are gonna do the job, and there's no questions. So I'd like to see it once a month, and the reason I wanna see it once a month is because some of the items on the fire study, report require funding. So those items are gonna come up, quickly, and they're gonna require funding to get them done.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think we can make that happen. Again, comment was not to not bring information to the board, just for consideration of Paul's time. That was all.
All right. Take a motion.
All right. So I move the board vote to appoint Paul Kernoyer as the interim fire chief effective January 1, 2022, pending successful implementation of a contract as negotiated by the town administrator, and to delegate administrative authority over the strong chief to the town administrator.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Can I have you amend that for the life of the contract?
For the life of the contract. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, motion amended. Anybody second the amendment?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, so now we're on to the purchase and sale of 17 and 27 Upton Street.
Yep.
I believe Mr. Spinney's here for this as well.
Yes, please. And I have a brief PowerPoint. It's 3 slides. That's it.
Okay.
But are they long slides?
They're not.
Is there one that's like a title page?
Bruce, do you want to come up and have a sorry, Madam Chair, through you. Bruce, do you want to come have a seat in case I go off the rails? So Bruce and I and Chris McGoldrick and a number of other people have been working with GSX to kind of nail down this purchase and sale. The reason I did a brief PowerPoint is because it's a little different than other purchases and sales that the town has entered into. and there are reasons for that, but I want to make sure that everyone is understanding of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So our objectives in looking at this project and for all the conversations that we've had around the parcel were to create one-time revenues, which is from the sale price and permitting and all the rest of it, which is conservatively going to be between $800,000 and $1 million by the time we're done. And a reason I give a range there is because there's some negotiation with building permits. There's all kinds of other things that can happen, and I don't want to guarantee a full $1 million. We also really wanted this project to help Grafton reach its SHI, which is the subsidized housing inventory. And we thought we could make some really big progress on this property that then would relieve the pressure elsewhere. We wanted to create living and retail space near the common. We've been talking about making things walkable. You've got the brand new library there. You've got a lot of nice amenity stuff that's going on. You've got shopping, all kinds of stuff. We also want to divest the town of public property and return it to productive use. We don't want it to see it sit there for 10 years as we try to figure out what we're doing. So here's how this agreement differs from previous purchase and sales. So it mainly falls around the contingencies, entitlement periods,
Financial.
and financing. Thanks. I wrote it like an hour and a half ago. I can't remember. So section 24A.
There we go.
Thanks, Bill. You're the best, Bill. Section 24A. So the language of the contract says obtaining all final, non-appealable governmental and quasi-governmental permits and authorizations. So what that boils down to is the original project was looking at 10% affordable housing. In Bruce's wisdom and the Affordable Housing Trust wisdom, saw this as an opportunity to get more. And so went to GSX, who's our developer, and said, we want 25, we'd like to see 25%. And we're willing to contribute to the project to make those numbers work. So the Affordable Housing Trust would look to spend roughly $900,000 towards the project. Now this is a $30 million-ish building project.
Yeah, right around 34.
Right around 34 million. We would also seek through the town a TIF. And that is what we've deemed necessary to make the money work in order to keep ourselves at 25%. This also has, normally there's a 12-month entitlement period in a property of this size that's a municipally owned parcel, because especially when it's a highway garage or something, there's a lot of stuff that has to go on, so that people want to be able to jump ship. This has an extra 12 months extension, and the reason for that is because the buyer is pursuing HUD financing, which makes the project, this is all part of what makes this project work at our 25%. And HUD is not known for being fast. And so we need to give a little bit of leeway there. So what we would be looking to do is vote on the purchase and sale, sign the aforementioned purchase and sale. Will wanted me to make sure that that was in there. Enter into vote to enter into TIF negotiations, and then call a special town meeting for January, so that we can move this project along. It aligns with our financial goals and allows for the Affordable Housing Trust to have an article put together that allows them to expend the money. So I think the big win that we were looking for here is at 25% affordable housing. That should get us to our SHI.
Should.
And that gets rid of, the hostile 40B discussion.
Yeah, it puts the town back in the driver's seat.
Right.
For anything that comes up.
That's a better way to put that. Thank you. Anything I missed, Bruce?
No, outside of the fact that as fast as we can make this thing move, the faster we can get this program up and running.
So Bruce, can you talk a little bit about collateralizing the land?
From what perspective? The trust perspective?
Yep.
Okay, so when we, I guess when I got the authorization from the trust to approach GSX rather, and kind of look at it, the what they were looking for is to offset some of the soft costs. They're projected in this project to be about $4 million. I've dug through as much as I could dig through. About 2 million of that is stuff that I think the trust could feel comfortable spending on. We have to work out a grant program because there's no real vehicle by which we can take money back as a trust when we expend that 900K. We're not allowed to make money off projects. It's not in our mission. It's not what we're really supposed to do, and it's not what we're designed to do. So what we would like to see, and they have agreed to, is our grant is kind of fixed around what we anticipate the appreciated value of the land will be after it gets the permitting in place. So 650 is the purchase price with the permit in place, special permit in place anyways. We feel it'll appreciate at a certain point, and what I am going to recommend to the trust and what the subcommittee is going to recommend to the trust is we take a position where we expend our dollars 1-to-1. So we put in $1, they'll put in $1, and then if they decide to bounce at any one particular time, we get the property. The trust does. So it just puts us in first position, and why it's important is because they're going to pursue all avenues of different financing. And if they go for a traditional method like a bank or something like that, they need to make sure that we're in first position because we're not going to go behind somebody else. And everything seems to be agreeable to that point. So what the trust would probably be spending our money on is basically your permitting fees, special permit, survey work, engineering, environmental work, all the stuff that goes into getting one of these projects off the ground. So as that conversation proceeded, we were asking for a significant bump in what their operational design was for how they want to see this thing built out. So it's all apartments. So if we hit the 25% cut, then every apartment in there counts against our SHI, which is important to us because it gets us close to that 400 number, which is what we need for 10% in this community, which nearly all communities in the Commonwealth aren't even close. This would put us at it. We'd have to continue to maintain that as the town develops. But what they wanted to see on the backside of this is we don't have the money and are not willing to spend the type of money in the upfront costs to cover that first 3 years where they'll be trying to get to that 80 to 85% vacancy model, which allows them to make money off the project. So they're going to be looking for some TIF. I would want although I won't want the trust in the driver's seat of that because it's not us. It's basically comes for you to town meeting. But we certainly should play a role in that negotiation because we're kind of balancing what we're committing up front to what hopefully the town will be willing to commit behind it. And I think what they're looking for primarily is, as they build it out, they get it built, they get it tenanted, and then they want to see some kind of recovery period for the amount of units that we're going to post. So the project as it stands right now, it has one minor modification, but they were going to put a parking garage underneath. That seems to be cost prohibitive in the current environment, so they're reducing from 139 units to 123 units. Doesn't really impact us. Our 25% threshold is still pound for pound the easiest, the best money to get affordable houses in town. So we think it's a good program. It's a home run. It's not something that there's a lot out there for us to provide guidance. So we've hired our own counsel and consultant to kind of help us kind of put this grant in place. We've connected with the right personnel in town to make sure that how we fund this and how it gets administered has some 4 or 5 year life period to it. Our appointments on the trust are only for 2 years. So, conceivably mine is up in June. So, I might not be there for the duration of this. So we're building the trust to the point where we can make sure we can administer this program over the lifetime of the development cycle. I know I'm talking for a while, but if you have any questions for me, I'm here.
So Bruce, you said something that was interesting. Would it be the trust that would be in first in line?
Yeah, we want to be in first
not
position.
Not the town, right?
No.
The trust, okay.
The trust.
For the 900 grand?
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah, it's
So we want to be in a position where if we invest that money in this development
Yep.
and it goes sideways, that we haven't wasted a bunch of trust money
Yeah.
for nothing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, with permitting in place, I would figure that is well north of $1 million. And if the trust is in a position where it's, 50 or 60% loan to value, if I were to think of it like from a traditional banker's perspective, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it. I mean, the goal here is we'll get some 25 units affordable for 900,000. Because without us, this thing doesn't happen.
900,000 plus the tip.
Well, if the TIF goes, I'm not sure if that's, it's hard to build a contingency of something that's gonna go to town meeting. From the town's perspective, it's probably gonna be around that $1 million mark of one-time funding. And it'll probably be somewhere between, even with a very, very heavy TIF, 150 to 175 a year in revenue. And primarily this will be, single family. It's 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. And it's marketed towards the 55 plus demographic. So as far as demand on services, it will be very light. And for the common area, which we've spent, tens of millions of dollars now, the library and One Grafton Common and then gazebos apparently, it's a good spot.
Yeah.
So
Is it still mixed use? Is that where the plan
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so the overlay was popped there a few years ago, as you know. So it's not a ZBA process, it's a planning board process. They've done some preliminary work. I mean, I've looked at some of the design, and while it's amorphic now, it's kind of changing, and will change a little bit more when they do some official survey work. Everything works there. So it is a really solid project. It's going to need a lot of support as it goes through its process. The TIF would be something that I think would seal the deal, so to speak. And still put the town in a very impressive position. So I just want to make sure that the town is going to move forward with the TIF, but the trust wants to be part of that because we need to weigh it against what we're contributing. So
Do we have dates figured out when the warrant would need to be closed by to accommodate a January town meeting?
So it's 14 days, and so we would just work backwards from whatever date the board feels comfortable with.
Okay.
We would have to. It's one of those things you got to back into. So without knowing
Right.
what the board is thinking as far as a date,
Okay.
I know I stopped in the middle of my sentence, but you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure.
so this is obviously a pretty key project, probably, well, it's the key project for the Housing Trust right now. We're gonna need a lot of help from the town in terms of messaging and public engagement. Going to town meeting.
Yep.
If we're gonna go that way.
Well,
Yep,
even that's your cue.
Yep.
So would we be able to, in this agreement, would we be able to put in a anticipated start date and an anticipated completion date?
Not in the PNS. You got 2 years in the PNS for them to go. I'm not after.
No, but in the TIF and everything else, so I'm gonna go back to Nature's Remedy there. That it just, sat there for 6 years. That we need some type of schedule.
UPS. Oh, okay,
No.
no.
Those
UPS
are
is
different
gone.
agreements, though. I mean,
I think as the TIF committee or whatever party the town decides, the board decides to work on this, would be, you could put a sunset provision in there. I would highly advocate that it's outside of the 2 years. Right?
Oh, yeah, no,
because,
be realistic. I just
Right.
want some type of,
yeah,
some
I
type of
think,
date.
yeah, I think with
Can always be extended, but.
yeah, you could definitely put language in there, and I think you'll see that in most of our contracts for this type of stuff moving forward. Whether it's a TIF or something else, there's gonna be some kind of revisiting provision. Whether that's a sunset provision or like we did in the Jushi contract, where it was a language where once a year you're gonna come back and talk to us and we're gonna re-up, but we're gonna hear what you're doing. And I think that's doable. If it's not doable in the actual TIF, it's certainly doable as a sister document.
agreement.
Yep.
Which is part of the reason why I want to make sure the trust is incorporated into whatever the town decides it wants to do there. At least when we put something before them, because we're gonna have 900K riding on it. We don't want. We want to make sure we're coordinating when we're spending funds in a match to if the TIF is going to be there, what the TIF is going to look like. Because it may be that the TIF is better for them than what we can anticipate, and they don't need as much as the 900, or perhaps the TIF is not as much as they need, and they need a little bit more than the 900. There might be some wiggle room, and it would be, you know, who of the three parties to be in the room, so to speak, and that's all. So I would venture to say that they're a 6 to 9 month process from now. If they chase HUD, you know, around the state, it's going to take them a while. If they use more traditional financing, which it may be, you know, then it will go faster. I mean, Pine Street seems to be going pretty quickly, but they're using different instruments to fund this, so we'll see. But
So
just,
the reason, you know, Bruce and I wanted to have this conversation with you is it's different. It's higher risk, but it's bigger reward. And the messaging that I think this board has had from the beginning is affordable housing and, you know, kind of swing for the fences and make these things happen. And I think that that's what this deal, if we can get all of the dominoes to line up here, that's what this deal does.
It's high risk, but if we're first in line, that really, you know, eases the pain a little bit.
It does. And when I say risk, I don't mean risk of losing,
Yeah.
you know, revenue or anything. I mean, of the 2 years from now, the deal falls apart and we're back at square one. You know, that can happen anyways.
Yep.
it was the only respondent in the RFP. And it's just fortuitous occurrence because they were working with Pine Street, so it got brought to their attention, I guess through for you guys.
Yep.
So kudos to us for taking advantage.
Yeah, we've developed a
Good
relationship with John Grant and the folks over at GSX, so we were able to call them up and say, we have this RFP, and then even, quite frankly, they already had responded to the RFP, and then we started having the affordable housing conversation. They could have just said, no, that's our proposal, so.
Well, yeah, the
building,
project
I think
works.
building that relationship was key.
Yeah, their
Moving
project,
along.
if we don't do any of this and we decide to go with just our,
10%.
yeah, they're gonna do that project.
Right.
So if the market works for them, you know, we went from like 15 to 20 to 25, and once we hit the 25 number, that's when the challenges started to, you took a look at the pro forma.
Mhm.
So we've accommodated for everything we could there.
Okay.
What do you need from us tonight?
So if we could go, Will, back to that slide. So,
Is that all you need me for?
I don't think so.
I should stay.
No,
We're good.
No,
We're
I think you're good.
You're all
now.
set, Bruce.
Can I go with you?
No, you can now.
Oh. All right, so,
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate
Thank
having
you.
me.
thanks.
See ya,
Bruce. So GSX has already signed the purchase and sale, so we would be asking the board to vote to sign the purchase and sale.
All right.
I would also like the board to vote to enter into TIF negotiations. It does not mean that we've agreed to a TIF. It just says it gives the TIF committee which is Carl Moisen, Ray, and Marcia Platt, the ability to start having a meeting with GSX and get that going, and I can help facilitate those connections. And then I don't anticipate tonight that we're gonna pick a special meeting date. I want to have more conversation with Candy. Not knowing how this was gonna go, we haven't, you know,
Yeah.
we have to be considerate of what they've got going on as well. So just, you know, a basic understanding from the board that we're gonna be having a subsequent conversation about an actual date.
All right.
I move the board vote to authorize the chairman to sign the purchase and sales agreement between the town of Grafton and GSX Ventures LLC for the properties known as 17 Upton Street, Grafton, Mass. And 27 Upton Street, Grafton, Mass.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I declare the motion passes.
I make a motion that, I move the board vote to authorize would be the TIF committee.
Yep.
The TIF committee to enter TIF negotiations with GSX Ventures LLC for the proper.
Yeah, that's
Period.
that's fine.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, so that wraps up this part of the agenda.
Yeah.
Lovely. Moving right along to a proclamation. You mentioned this a few weeks ago about wanting to start doing proclamations in Grafton.
Goals meeting.
I think it was even before that.
It was before that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
okay.
I was listening.
Sure, sure, sure.
It really shows.
I believe you.
But at the goals meeting, we did decide on who the first proclamation should go to, and so you weren't
That's
totally
right.
off.
That's right.
So it looks like we're gonna do a Sheila I Day, and that's gonna be today, November 16th, 2021, and Matt is going to read the proclamation.
So, proclamation. Whereas on this date, the Grafton Select Board is honoring Sheila Ide, who gave many years of community service to the town of Grafton. And whereas Sheila was the first woman to serve on the Board of Selectmen, having served 12 years from May 1988 through May 2000. And whereas Sheila truly showed her dedication, compassion, and loyalty to the town residents and business owners whom she cared so much for. And whereas Sheila's additional commitment serving on Economic Development Committee assisted in facilitating improvements which Grafton continues to benefit from. These included the development of the commuter rail station, Centec Park, and Tufts Veterinary School of Medicine. Now, therefore, the Grafton Select Board proclaims this date, November 16th, 2021, to be Sheila Ide Day, and to call upon all of our citizens to especially honor and show sincere appreciation for her service to the town. The Grafton Select Board.
That's wonderful. So do we take a motion for that as well?
Nope.
How does that work?
No, just read it and sign it.
Read it and sign it.
Yep.
And then this
And then
will
we will have it presented to Sheila. I believe that Peter is going to do that, but we can work that out amongst yourself. And I just want to mention, I really want to thank Cindy Ide for helping gather all that information and create this proclamation. She did a lot of work on that and a lot of tweaking and put a lot of care into it, and I really appreciate that. I think that
That's great.
it's a really meaningful thing.
I do too. And I really like that Sheila's our first proclamation too.
I do too.
Sheila was one of the first people that I called when I decided to run for the board, and we had a terrific conversation.
Nice.
And
Very
she
nice.
called me.
Terrific person.
She is a terrific person.
Really?
She called me right after she hung up with you.
That's funny.
I said, no, he's a pinhead.
You should have said
Oh, I
who?
did. I said he was great.
All right. So I don't know if this is the
Yeah.
official one though. I think we got a really pretty one here, but we can sign
Yeah,
it
you do. Well, yeah.
after.
I'll do that after.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a fancier.
This can be like our practice one.
They get your names down.
Yep. Now we know how to do it. So moving on to select board reports. Does anybody have a report?
I do quickly.
Go for it.
So the Open Space and Rec Committee had their first meeting a month ago. We have a second one tomorrow night, just to let everybody know that. So it just reminded me because we appointed Elizabeth tonight too. So our membership is growing, which is great, and we have an action plan, and that committee is moving along. So, and then we held our first waste reduction and recycling committee last week, and that went really well. So we're again second committee meeting. We're just starting to get organized and talk about improvements and saving money in terms of waste reduction and recycling. So I'll keep the board posted on important conversations going on, but I just want to let you know those meetings are happening, and because these are new committees, we're really just starting to organize, and I don't have anything big to report, but just wanted to let you know that I'm sitting in on them, and they're happening.
Awesome.
Right on.
And anything from down here? No. Okay.
No, it's fun getting logged into ClearGov.
Yeah.
Look at the budget.
Mm.
We're gonna need some tutorials.
Yeah. I know. I was telling Mary, I'm like, this was a mistake.
Oh no, no, it wasn't.
No, it's really cool. Yep, we're gonna have a great time with it. I'm looking forward to it.
Town administrator reports?
Yeah, so I've been getting a ton of calls about ClearGov. No, just kidding. Just a few things. One, I wanted to note for anybody that follows us on social media, there is a page called Grafton Select Board, I believe it is.
Not us.
It is not us. So there was a thread basically calling out the select board for laughing at a discussion. That's not us. The select board does not have a page as a group. We have the official Town of Grafton Facebook page, and that is it. Individual members may have their own, but there's nothing called the Grafton Select Board. Yeah, there was a new one. I haven't run into that. Yeah, prior to being here. I wanted to note that we met as the ARPA committee last night, and I think we made some really good headway. We solicited from the department heads a list of prospective, early thought projects, and they really delivered with a great list of things that may qualify for ARPA funds. And I told the department head, swing for the fences. No proposal is off the table. Let's just start a conversation while it's out there, and they really did deliver. So that was awesome. We're going to meet again next month, and we're meeting with a consultant, an ARPA consultant, to help us potentially with public outreach and the reporting aspect of utilizing federal funds and making sure that we are compliant in what federal law is. And I wanted to mention that we had some water issues on the main. There's a project going up on Main Street, and some properties were affected by that. If you were affected by that, I'd ask you to call the building department. We are collecting data and saving that here on our server so that we can make sure that we have record of that should we need it. Conservation, planning, and zoning were heading that way today, and I don't know the outcome of that because I've been tied up, but they were going to meet out there. And janitorial. And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Did I have one more thing?
Not that you mentioned to me.
Okay.
All right, next is correspondence. Is there any correspondence anyone wanted to bring up? I know I was excited to find out that a Weston High School AP Physics student was assigned with a project to find out what the state of Massachusetts Center of Mass was, and it's Grafton. So she reached out to us and let us know, and I thought that was pretty cool. So EDC should get on that, right? Make everybody know that.
Well, it's interesting. I actually wrote back to her because there's a tree in Rutland that is the center of Massachusetts. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Rutland is wrong.
No. The tree is the geographic center.
The geographic center.
Oh,
So geographic center and center of mass are two different
right.
things.
Got it.
And after
So do we need a tree now? Is that what you're getting
yeah,
at?
I think we need a tree
Okay.
with a plaque.
The Center of Mass tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I thought the center was right over Grafton Grill. I could be wrong.
I've been telling my wife I'm the center of the universe, so I don't know what she's talking
Keep
about.
doing
You
that.
are bringing all of Munson
doing
here,
that.
so it might be
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's true. I'm gonna stop.
Okay. Unless they have a fire chief.
Unless
And then we can maybe take one more. All right. Is anybody else has any other correspondence? Okay, moving on to discussion. First discussion item is review of the annual music license application. Do you guys want to tee that up? Okay.
Hold on. Sorry. So if you looked in the packet,
Yeah.
we created a document that revolves around the things that we talked about when we first brought this up, which is music, one-day licenses, which is indoor versus outdoor. It's essentially the same document, but requires further input from the applicant to let us know exactly what they're doing so that we don't run into kind of some of the concerns that we had in the past with music licenses. So most of it is if you look at the document on the right hand side, music entertainment one day it's $10, music entertainment annual is $25. Both is indoor outdoor, and that's the bulk of it. We then go into additional information where we ask for just some other things.
Is there a digital version of this for applicants, or is this going to be hard copy?
So once you approve the policy, we will create a digital version on Viewpoint.
Okay.
But we kind of you have to approve the format, and then we'll do that.
Great. Any questions about this?
I thought it was good.
I do too. My only question before was, has staff looked at this? Because I didn't know if this was like our notes
No, so
delivered or.
Cindy is the
Great.
one that does it, and
Uh-huh.
Cindy's the one that created it.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. So do we just bring that back to vote on? Can we vote on it tonight? What does everybody feel?
I'm comfortable with it.
You can
Yeah.
vote on it.
I'm happy voting on it.
Let's take a
Yep.
motion.
I move the board vote to affirm the updated license application form submitted by the town administrator as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. I declare the motion carried. All right. So on to select board email from the fire department. I believe Ray, you wanted to talk about this. I'm just gonna tee it up to you.
And the chair's not here, so I'll put it on another meeting.
Okay. So then the next moving on is the fire department discussion from November 9th. And Doreen, I believe you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I just, we kind of, jumped around a little bit because we, already appointed Paul. But I just wanted to make sure if we wanted to have any discussion on how the meeting went, with the fire department last week, anything else that we needed to talk about. So my thought was we would do that before, appointing Paul, but it's fine. It seems like we're all on the same page. I thought the meeting went really well with them. I just wanted the opportunity to thank them again for coming in and, coming up with a really good plan that'll help us and give us time to, make some good decisions moving forward. And I really appreciated collaborating with them on this decision, and I think it's going to work out well. So that's all.
Yeah, it seems like there's an open conversation now, and that's been something that we've needed for quite some time.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I
happy with that.
think the meeting went well. I think they showed immense leadership, and they showed that they want to bring the department together, and I thought that was fantastic.
Awesome. I agree. I think the meeting went well, and excited to move on to the next process, which brings us into the next agenda item, which is the fire chief search committee. I think going through the process last time did a lot of the heavy lift for us. The charge is basically written. I think we should just tweak it slightly. And then tonight, I was going to ask that we vote on it, because if we wait any longer, our next meeting's in 2 weeks. Then you have to post for people to apply for the position. Now we're talking about January. It's the middle of November right now.
Right.
I don't want this search committee to wait till January to get going.
So you're asking to vote on the charge?
On the charge.
Yeah, I feel totally comfortable with
Yeah, I do too. And I feel like now that we have a plan moving forward with Paul as the interim, and now we can move on to this step. And yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
All right. So what tweaks would you guys like to see made to the charge?
I'd like to see
Can I share with you?
one
Yeah.
member of the fire department, not the police chief, 2 members of the board, and 1 at large.
Okay.
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry. You said
two-
one member of
one
the
member
fire
of the fire
department? Yep,
department. Delete the police chief,
yep.
2 select board representatives, and 1 member at large.
So is there a TA in there? Is that what you're thinking for?
Oh,
the-
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't, yeah, he's in there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just bypassed it, that's all.
Okay.
So it's 5 members.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that.
The member of the fire department, is that somebody you want them to send forward? How do you want to?
I would think that we talk to Paul, or Evan talks to Paul, or whatever, and gets volunteers, whoever from the fire department, as long as they were not on the previous committee.
Okay.
And that's what I'd like to see. However they do it, I don't know what that process is, but.
Yeah. So last time we had representation from each station, and I just want to have that discussion because I like the thought of having a smaller group. I think it'll be more efficient. But I also want to make sure that they're getting the representation that they want. So how do we feel about that? Do we feel like 1 is sufficient?
Personally, I think that 1 from the fire department, seeing we're gonna reduce this to 5, is fine with me. I don't.
Yeah.
It's one
I
department.
don't think we need 1 from each station, The last time we did this, we had 1 from each station, and then, actually, I wasn't even on the board, but we only got two, and then we had to go back and ask again to get the next one.
Yep,
So I
yep.
think if we just get one from the fire department, it'd be fine.
Right, and this process is gonna be a little more streamlined. The previous committee did a big heavy lift for us, making this second round, should just again be more streamlined. So I'm okay with one fire department representative.
Okay, I am too.
I also want to change the timetable, the language on there, it's from, to begin upon appointment and will dissolve after the fire chief is hired by the select board, to, dissolve after the candidates are forwarded to the select board.
Can we just change that, Colleen? The only reason that I'm saying that is what happened before could happen again. What happened before is a common occurrence from town managers and administrators that I've spoken to. It's a common occurrence. So I wouldn't want to see the committee disbanded as soon as we present candidates, just in case we have to do it again.
Right, so what you're saying is that this new committee would be good enough to do a second search. We wouldn't want to make a third committee. God forbid we're looking at this again.
No, I wouldn't make a third committee. I mean, kind of gun shy, it's,
I don't know, I think we're setting a precedent by saying we're dissolving the first committee and creating a second committee because we dissolved the first committee. So I think, in me, fairness would be that we would do it again.
yeah, but we didn't have anything written into the charge. that
We
they were
did,
dissolved.
they actually weren't dissolved because we never hired a chief, and we dissolved them anyway.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
want, I just wanted to,
Which we could do again, presumably.
I guess, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm
know.
open to that amendment. That's fine.
But other than that, I think the rest should be, changed as to match whatever the membership is, whatever numbers need to change it, and then, get going and post it so we can start interviewing members at large and get a committee going.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So are we all in agreement on the membership?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. I looked at a bunch around the area, and they were all over the place. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
typical way
No.
to go. So
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Some places have 15 members.
yeah, I mean,
That's not
it gets
happening.
a little
We're not
crazy.
doing that.
I do like too that Evan will be back on it
Oh,
because
he left. He didn't know.
He
He
didn't
should have
know.
voted
I
real
know.
quick because he didn't want to.
I know. But he will also have the information from the first process.
Yep.
To, streamline, like you said, so I like that.
Got it.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I think it's good.
Okay.
Let's take a vote quickly before he knows what's happening.
Yep, sounds good. So I'll take a motion for. Did you get all those changes, William? Are you going to be able to?
Yeah,
Great.
I got 'em.
All right. So then I make a motion. We adopt the updated charge for the fire chief search committee as discussed and amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, I declare the motion carried. So we'll get that updated and posted as quick as we can to get some candidates. Then we also have fire chief search timeline, search committee charge, search committee composition. I'm not entirely clear why that's on there that way. I feel like it does encompass a lot of what we talked about, but is there anything else anybody wants to talk about?
Search committee.
Well, I think it's pretty clear we have to have this done in place by June, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we will. The first committee for first 3 months was to come up with the job description.
Yeah.
So again, this is
We have that,
Should
the
be a lot
committee can
easier.
tweak that however they want and
Yep.
make the changes and put it on the street.
all right. So meeting minutes.
I move the board vote to accept the meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2021 as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. I declare the motion carried. And now we're on to adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.